Hey,
Hey,
how's it going?
good. I'm sorry
All right.
about that. I couldn't get the. Okay. I'm going to take a seat and do an interview with a black cast member.
Abraham, please take a seat. I'll have you sit right here. I had the buns prepare a meal
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Thank you very
for
much.
your visit.
Thank you. Very good. Think for today I'll just do sexy. No, I mean regular seating. Okay, very, very good. Can't help but notice the heads above you. Is there any special meaning behind that?
Well, we do seek very agile, nimble, and intelligent candidates for the cast. And if they don't manage to make it through, if they don't manage to escape, they're slain because they will have learned things of the cast that they cannot spread word about. I'm pretty sure you understand.
So those are the ones that didn't make it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
but they made it on the wall. So.
yeah, they did one way or another. They're still with the black cast. They just didn't. At least part of them did. That's another question. Does the black cast seek out their candidates, or the candidates apply?
We normally seek them out. It's what catches our eye normally we will approach, but anyone is welcome to approach us. However, getting selected as a seeker uh, and approved to be a candidate does not mean that they will make it as candidates into killers.
Okay. What is the purpose of the black cast other than what looks like shish kebabs?
Well, where the warriors fail to arrest an individual or the magistrates fail to imprison them or have them punished for their crimes and they manage to get out of the city, the Black Cats has no boundaries when it comes to property or territory. We will hunt them anywhere on Gore. So once the contract is made, we will pursue the mark until the mark is dead or we are dead. We are justice outside of the cities.
Okay, so then in reality, there's at least three types of justice. The city law, well, four. You have the initiate law, the city law, the merchant law, and then the black caste justice. I think they said two courts,
Yes.
ecclesiastical, civil, and then we'd have to say the black caste courts.
Yes, we our courts mainly decides on our own performance and if we have a killer that has broken the code and has been brought to our attention, the black cast court decides the fate of that killer. We do not often hunt our own, but those of the cast that violate our only law, which is our code, often get hunted. However, we are trained to remain hidden. We live in the shadows, and we are often the most hated cast in Gore because of two reasons. Once the black cast takes a mark on someone, and that dagger is painted on our forehead, the warriors cannot interfere. The magistrates cannot interfere. It is the Gorian law actually that protects the black cast when they operate. So this is why we are hated. And it's also the story of Bakur that makes us hated, if you are familiar with it.
Go ahead and tell the story.
Well, Bakur to us has become something of a myth, of a legend, because even though he was hunted in R for using his horde as an army to take over R, he violated the code of using the black cast to gain an advantage. We do not ask for reinforcements. So that was one of the codes he broke. He also became Muvar of that city. Having the city does not mean that you can claim a homestone, because we hold no homestone and no loyalty to any city. We only hold loyalty to the caste and to the contract. That is why the saying alone with gold and steel. Pakur betrayed all these principles. Therefore, he failed the caste. But the fact that his body was never found turned him into a legend and a myth to those of the caste that admire his exploits, managing to use a horde of assassins to gain a military advantage over a very, very large city. And R wasn't just any city, it was the largest and most successful city in Gore. And for any man to accomplish not only dethroning Mubar, but replacing him as an assassin, becoming a political strong figure instead of a master assassin, this has caused a lot of turmoil inside of the cast. Some admire him and some despise him and call him a traitor. So this is the story of Bakur, and what we try to teach our candidates is not to be oriented by glory and fame, but by fear. We use fear to not only prosecute our mark, but also to keep the warriors and the magistrates at bay when we enter a city with a mark on our forehead, which is just a thin dagger, uh, to let them know that we are working and they shouldn't interfere.
How do you use fear? What are the tools you use for fear?
We often do not kill in public, so that is a misconception. We seek an opportune moment to hunt in solitude. This means that our mark is alone, his guard is down, and we also use disguises. So the fear is used because people never know when we are around. We could be a merchant, we could be a physician, we could be a warrior, we could be a mercenary, a thief. And although the assassin must always do his own kill, fear of us and the hatred of our caste is exactly what makes us unpredictable, and something that you do not know is always feared, and that is the best weapon that the assassins have. It's not exactly just information that we gather either through our bond or slave or kajira, or through merchants that sell information. Coin buys a lot of things in Gore, and you know this very well as a scribe, don't you, Abraham?
Oh yeah, coin. What does this say? Coin is gold. Gold is how do you put it? Gold rules.
Yes, it makes decisions in a lot of situations, and they said as long as there is gold, there is no friend. So we do not depend on each other. We only depend on our dagger and our wit and our ability to remain hidden until the moment to strike arrives. And this could take a few days, a few moons, a few hands sometimes, or a few years. It doesn't matter how long it takes as long as the mark is terminated.
You talk about vulnerabilities. Do you have family? Any attachments?
A black caste assassin is expected by code to release all ties and bonds of his former life. I have witnessed several assassins who still hold bonds and ties to his family, um, or create new bonds. Now, that is a topic of discussion for a lot of assassins, because each assassin is their own as long as they're bound by the code. There is no Supreme Court of assassins anymore. Parkour went missing, and there is no horde anymore. When the capture and the siege of R happened, The assassins left to the four corners of Gore, and therefore I met my mentor in the north. A merchant of skins that seemed like a regular man, a little bit too agile, too good to seem like a southern man. It caught my attention as a hunter. Mind you, I am 1300 years old now, and I have seen assassins come and go. But I must say that for a southern man, that one man could handle himself in the north. Witty, nimble, resourceful. Where I grew up in Hunger, meat and commodities were a privilege. It was not something promised to you, it was something that you earn. He saw me hunting and he approached me. He asked me if I had ever heard of the Black Caste of the Assassins. Mind you, I had never made it too far south. I traded pelts, I hunted beasts, and I trained snow laurels from cub to grown adult. And I gotta tell you that that man was as unpredictable as a grown laurel. No loyalty to anyone, fearful of the South because of the fall of R. He didn't want to return. So until he was old, he taught me what it was to be an assassin and why they were necessary. In the North, we had marauders, we had raiders, we had jarls and chieftains, but never someone to exercise justice all across Gore. This one thing as a hunter called to me. I believe that every assassin that survives is experienced hunter, and they could survive in the North. So I don't think anyone in the North would be safe from an assassin if they were well trained.
And you mentioned a mentor. Is there a school you go to, or is it one-on-one mentoring, or how does that work?
So normally we proceed in pairs. So once we find a student, a candidate, a seeker, we normally seek another because they must train together. And I shouldn't tell you that there is a reason only one assassin graduates. Why would you say that is?
One has to kill the other.
Correct. Once they make it to the hunt, which would be the last test of a candidate, who have become brothers, friends, maybe best friends, now must use everything they know about each other, everything they know about the Black Cast, and everything they have learned through the training to best one another. And it's needless to say that it does something to a man to kill his best friend. It creates a cold heart. Many of the candidates that manage to kill become sick. They are known to be selfish. They're known to be egocentric. They're known to be proud. But once they make that kill, something breaks or changes inside. They say that the hardened steel is forged 3 times and then quenched in blood. This is exactly what happens to any man that goes successfully through the training of the Black Caste. We no longer hold exactly any training grounds. They train in cities and villages and ports. You could already know a few of them and you don't even know you're talking to a candidate of an assassin because they get tasked to learn a few things about the world of Gore, including their castes and how they operate.
Now you have no family then, no free companion. Are you allowed to have slaves?
Yes, we keep a Kajira or two, a bond or two, normally for messaging, to take care of our matters while we are gone hunting, or to perhaps, needless to say, make our work a little easier. Now, when it comes to free companioning, like I said before, that will be considered family, a new bond. That's a touchy subject. An assassin will need to disguise, and that disguise has limitations. As long as they do not break the code, an assassin could, perhaps, pretend to have a free companion. The assassin perhaps uses a fake name, a fake origin, but the assassin is always careful never to claim any homestone or pledge loyalty to anyone. The only loyalty, like I said before, we have is to that contract. The gold we were paid and the mark we're set to hunt. But it's not just killing that we do. Sometimes the free companion that we say that we're companioning is not really a companion, but a client that we had taken a lot of gold from to protect for a set amount of time from mercenaries, warriors, raiders, or even other assassins.
So, but can you fur those women?
Yes, we are free men of gore. You know, intimacy is not exactly a forbidden subject in the life of an assassin. In fact, we are more bound to use our own bond or slave because they are trained different. They are not only passion slaves sworn to us for life, they are never to be sold,
Ah, that's what
but
I
they
was
are
wondering.
also our closest extension to an outside weapon. So they sample our food, so they die instead of us. They sample our drink, so they die instead of us. This is why an assassin will never take food or drink from you without their bond or slave being present to sample what you have given us. Being hated by most of Gore has its downsides. There's always somebody out there wanting to kill us, wanting to test their steel in honor and still warriors, mercenaries, uh, raiders, pirates, what have you. The brands you see behind me, one is my personal emblem. The other one is the council I belong to, and the two on my left are other assassins inside the same council. Now they say that every court has a master assassin. I believe that the master assassin must be chosen by their peers. So, since we have chosen no master assassin, we are just assassins inside of the same council. We have one common goal: the glory of the black caste and justice across Gore. When the red, the blue, and even the white caste fail to deliver that justice, we don't really have a religion. We don't really believe in exactly an afterlife other than the city of dust. I must call myself a differing factor. I was raised Norton, and I released all connections to everything, but I still believe in the old gods. So, what have you? I believe that I might be the dagger of Odin. I've had many close calls to death. They say that those that dance and court death often find it. But one finds that whenever you see death, you can do nothing but a smile at it.
Now, you
That is
made an
why.
illusion, and people may not know what that is. The gods of the
Mhm.
north are what?
Well, there are many gods in the north. The ones I have seen evidence of might be Odin, Thor, Freya, Skirnir, Loki, Orm. There are quite a few out there, but the ones that we actually believe that shape our fate in the north are those that I just mentioned. And the one that we aspire to be here in the north is Torvald. Because if you have heard the story of Torvald, you know that he fought against the priest kings. And if one is inspired by lore and legend, one could understand why the Torvaldslanders respect the myth and legend of Torvald. I do not put my stock on such stories. I believe that every man's arm and steel shapes his fate. But if I were to say that there is a better assassin than another, I wouldn't know who to say was the best assassin in Gore. I think that parkour was a myth. I think Drusus was a failure. And we are hunting Kurus because his real name is known to be Tarkobat. Others say it's Tarkabit. I do not know. I do not care. All I want is for him to die and his head up here on the spike for mocking our caste, pretending to be one of ours and violating every single code. So, yes, it's very different for an assassin to place faith on anything but his own skill. So, everything to an assassin is an opportunity, a weapon, a tool, but it is a lie that goes around that we use poison and they should be afraid of us because of poisonous things. I, as an assassin, have never used poison to kill a mark. It's a cowardly tool meant for women of gore, for weak creatures. I did not even use poison to hunt the animals I used to when I was a young lad in the north. Most of what you find here in the north, in these icy lands, is fish. Sometimes you get lucky and you'll find a tabuk in the northern forests. Sometimes you travel a little more south and you'll find yourself with Tarsk. But there is something that is true. The north shapes a man different than it does in the south. They have called me giant. They have called me brute. They even say that there is no point in me disguising myself because there is no man that could resemble me in height, and there will be therefore no point in me even disguising. However, I have met men as tall as me, as broad as me, braver than me because I am not brave. I consider myself smart. I will not charge into an enemy into the fray unless I really need to. And I will toss my bond and my Kajira at the enemy and cross my Kajira through the heart if I can pierce the enemy's heart. There is no safety in the life of an assassin.
You mentioned the
You
Black
can have
Council.
that.
Can you explain what the Black Council is?
So the Black Cast Council is composed by several killers. Often, when there is no master of the court, they will discuss matters according to code and to contracts that have been fulfilled and honor or mock fallen assassins. But it's always about the glory of the Black Caste. This means that every assassin in that council must always put the Black Caste glory first, other than difference according to other assassins. There's too many courts in Gore right now, more than I can count. A council has not been held across all the Gorian factions of Black Caste in a long time. We have seen them gather at the Ankara and speak of the caste, perhaps saying the same things I'm saying, but we have never seen them harmonize because it is not expected of an assassin to acknowledge another unless they see them hunt. One assassin could not see another assassin in disguise, even if he tries to discern and detect everything that the man is doing. So the council exists so those of the black caste can gather and discuss things that regard the black caste itself. That is why a council exists here.
Here, I can't help noticing. What is your Long Johnson wine that you have in front of you?
Well, I am first and foremost a merchant, even though what I sell is death. But I also happen to own a vineyard. And this wine is just another way of me collecting coin honorably, let's call it that. And honestly, my vintage sells across Gore. There are some says that, there is the rumor that I lace it with breeding wine. This is not true. This is just competition attempts at, staining my brand. But it's a highly respected brand by women of Gore. And why don't I sell mead? Because mead is not liked or purchased by men of the South. And you will often see me in southern cities. Why? Because normally Torvald's men will not depend on another man to hunt whoever wronged them. They will hunt them themselves. Often, when they find the person that wronged them, they will invoke the northern law of Calmgang, which is a challenge between two men, all for all. Your life for mine and what I own. This is something that is not seen on the South. You'll see duels between warriors, but life is too precious, isn't it? So why kill your enemy when you can just humiliate him and get him to surrender because he lost to your still? Death in the South is not that common unless it's by the hand of the executioner. And most of the executioners are black caste, often hired by the city to perform that hated act of execution. But I have seen crowds cheer to have an execution, haven't you, Abraham?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen. You'll see 15, 20, 30 people show up.
And they always have fruit to throw. I don't know why people just, they just waste food throwing it up. You got this feast in front of you that my bonds so kindly prepared. And I am sure that when they put a feast like this in the South, it's because you're eating at the Ubar's palace.
Yeah, it's not the
I
normal
have,
meal.
yes, so you'll see the builders with their coin and their expertise. And I have a lot of respect for the builders. And I understand their necessity in a city. You'll see the smithy, very necessary man, but you will not see them swimming in coin. How much does a blade cost in your city, Abraham?
That I'm not sure about.
Let's call one of your tools. How much does an ink quill cost in your city?
A gold. If I have to defend somebody, they're going to pay a gold.
So this is an advocate's wage.
Yeah.
Okay. How much would you say it's a fair wage to a scribe who is just doing records?
Only a silver, so it's not going to be expensive. And that's only for like free companionships. Regular contracts are like 30 copper, maybe 40 copper. If it's free companionships, it's going to be several silver. It's the legal cash that make real money, silver and gold.
I took 12 gold to protect a physician from a small crew of raiders. She was really afraid for her life. No companion. A former contract woman turned into a respectable physician's caste. She was the apprentice of a very respected physician and believed that these men were really after her. It is not my place to question whether they were after her or not, but if anyone wants an assassin to protect if they're hunting, the price changes. But our motto, our code is honor, is gold and steel. I'm sorry. Gold and steel. We don't take silver for protection. It is a steel gold. She wanted an entire year of my protection. Therefore, I brought her into my hold and told her that the price was 12 golden tarsks, one for each passing moon and the time that she needed to keep me. Once the time is over, she can renew it or discontinue completely. The contract was sealed by a scribe of the South, and therefore, where she goes, I go because I must protect her. Do you think this makes me loyal to that city?
No,
I am only loyal to my contract. Therefore, if the woman that I protect is in that city, I only act as an extension of herself. I am her mercenary, guard, protector, her blade. It is very seldom of an assassin to spare a life, but we do not kill aimlessly. Normally, we only kill for contract, and it's a legal binding contract that a scribe has to acknowledge. How many contracts would you say passed on to you?
I don't deal with those.
You know why?
No, sir.
Normally, a scribe that takes the contracts of an assassin to legalize them in case the assassin gets caught, and I mean by warriors, before the assassin is brought to court, this scribe that is assigned by the Black Caste entrusted with the task of signing and sealing this contract must have verified that the man was indeed marked and that the man was indeed of the Black Caste. Therefore, you will not hear them talking about Black Caste matters because it will be violating the code. So I will not expect a scribe that has dealt with Black Caste contracts, who we will call the Black Caste scribe, even though he doesn't belong to the Black Caste. Because even if I were to ask you as a Black Caste, have you handled Black Caste contracts before? You will still say no. Silence is the language spoken by the assassins, and is the language of the assassins that survive. You will wonder why I accepted your interview today.
No, why?
The Ankara comes around the corner. It is barely 3 months till we arrive at that particular event, festive gathering of people, where everybody can at least feel a little safe. Do you think an assassin is not allowed to hunt in the Ankara?
You would think no, it's neutral territory, isn't it?
I would say if an assassin manages to kill someone at the Ankara, he will have to face the marshals, but he will have to get caught. The Ankara is not safe ground for marks. It's safe ground for quarreling cities because the marshals will really enforce their own law on those that violate the the truce, the peace of the Ankara. But there have been Ankaras where people have died, especially on the road to it. So the reason I accept your invitation to come and hold this little meeting, answering only a few quizzical questions, it is because there is a lot of misinformation about the black caste. People believe that we are to be feared, that we're always there to kill people. No. Just because a man is wearing black does not mean he's of the black caste. If you see a red slash, that might be a torturer. If you see fur, that might just be a raider that likes to wear black. It has been so often that I see warriors wearing black and red, raiders wearing black leathers and their cape and their shield black as night. But there is no emblem, there is no hunt, there is no mark. So some rogues and those of the thieves caste have been mistaken for our caste. And you will see them locked up sometimes because there is no law protecting them. You will see them work at the mines. But we live with gold and we live with respect and honor to our own code. So we do have a different type of honor, not the same honor that the warriors cling to, but we have honor nonetheless. We will not kill a free man or woman without a contract, unless it's on self defense. It is not a smart thing to do to pick a fight with a black caste, but it's also not a smart thing to do for us black caste to go picking fights. We are not warriors. Although we are experienced fighters, we are more, how we say it, nimble in darkness than we are in broad daylight fighting like warriors do. We do not protect the city, we protect ourselves in our contract. So, this is the reason that I took your meeting, so people would understand this is only the meaning of the black cast. We do not kill aimlessly, we do not kill randomly. We take a contract and we fulfill the contract. Sadly, when someone escapes the law of a city, pretends to have a new life in another city, they think people forget about the wrongdoings. And if the person is never found, they come to us because we know how to hunt. We need a description, a name, perhaps a caste. Everything that we hear about a person before we hunt them has to be the truth. However, there lies the conundrum. Why would you think that people do not lie? And what happens if you lie to an assassin? Most assassins do not ask too many questions. They ask a description, a name, a caste, and the last location they were seen. Perhaps family, property, trading locations. But we do not ask them questions like, why do you want them dead? We listen actively and we decide if we want to take that contract. If an assassin thinks that the client or the prospective client is lying, that assassin will not take the contract. And if another assassin does, that is that assassin's problem. That is why we hunt alone. No assassin represents all assassins. But this is the misconception that a lot of assassins group and band together and they want to be together as a court, as a horde. And although this in some ways strengthens the caste, it is not expected to do. It's not the task of an assassin to be in group with other assassins. The assassin is only expected to carry their contract or die trying. That is what the black caste is. We're not murderers. We are killers for hire, for justice and gore. But what justice means to each assassin, that is the best question. Because every assassin is going to answer different. To me, justice is if you escaped consequences for your actions, consequences are going to come looking.
Always. Thank you very much, Amir.